Good evening. If you can hear me okay, let me know. Hello, evening, Dolores. A little late because I'm still fighting the coughing attacks. But there we go. So I guess I will start where the comments already started. Briefly touching on Jules, Julia, the canine handler, and I'm going to be really brief about this. I won't be breaking anybody's confidence or confidentiality or sharing information that was said to me in a confidential way. So, but I will say that I just don't know where this stuff is coming from. I don't know how this has just been completely fabricated out of thin air. Um, and I understand it's easy to listen to some of this stuff and some of the things people say and the way they say things and the way they can try to piece a puzzle together can make things look the way they want them to look for you. So look, it's not my job to get into the wars that are happening on YouTube, and I'm going to just stick with what I believe and what I believe I know, and not engage in the false lies that are, the lies that are coming out of people's mouths. So they can run with it. Could she overshare, and could she try to, correct all of this? Maybe, but is it worth? It's not even worth it to me, in my opinion, to put more oxygen into all of that. And I believe with the way people behave and talk and have the things they've done and said, I believe that it would be smart for her not to respond. And honestly, which she has not said anything to me about not searching for Sebastian anymore or walking away for good, or anything like that. So I don't want to give any impression that she said that. What is this that just popped up on my screen? Go away. However, um, I really wouldn't blame her if she did. It's out of oh, what was that? I wonder if it's the storms. At a point, you have to decide what is more healthy. Um, so I'm not going to share anything because I think it's a waste of my time, frankly, too, because people are going to believe what they're going to believe. And so while we're on that track, there are some what do you call it? Creator wars going on all over the place. We've had discussions about fake phone calls and call-ins and things like that. And the loyalty to the creators that many follow, and I think I've said this before, is incredible. It's incredible. And I have listened to a lot of the things that were said, but this stuff that came out by the guy, I'm not even going to get into all the names, but the guy who was the one who made the fake phone calls, that was not news to me. It was not news to me at all. It was something that I believed was happening a long time ago, which made me change my opinion that I had suspicions about, but I decided to just take a different route and not absorb that. I heard and saw a lot of really nasty comments about people who donate to the GoFundMes, to the Cash Apps. And I just want to make this clear because I did hear another creator use some, in my opinion, poor taste for language. I don't believe there's anything wrong with the people who are really good human beings who are just trying to do the right thing or just trying to do what little bit they can to help find a missing child, a missing person, help a family when they're sick, or maybe going through a tragedy of some sort. There's nothing wrong with those people. Those people should not be put down for being good people. The people that should be put down are the ones who peddle those things in a false way, that put them out there and mislead people that are maybe getting kickbacks or are using the funds inappropriately, or just making fake, reasons and emergencies and whatever. And we've seen this not just on YouTube, but on Facebook and our own communities. We have people who can take advantage of fundraising, basically. But it's never the person who chooses to be a good human. It's not their fault. They're not stupid. They're not gullible. Punish the ones that promote that, okay? Not the people who are doing the right thing. That's just my opinion. That's what I can say about that. I have watched and thankfully put down just the most horrible, nasty stuff. Like, oh my gosh, that people just say about each other. And half these people they don't know, or they maybe, were on a stream together or co-stream together. And the nasty, vile, horrible, disgusting things that people say about each other, the horrible things they wish on each other. It's appalling. It's demeaning. They're degrading themselves. And I think it's disgraceful for anybody to try to come in front of anybody seriously and try to get someone to say, hey, look at these faces. Look at these amazing faces behind me. These beautiful people are missing right now. Please take me seriously. And then I'm going to talk about, men and women body parts and who's doing what to who. And, I'm going to have a complete spaz attack in front of you guys and act like a total lunatic. I mean, but I'm going to ask you to take me seriously when I'm talking about something serious. I don't know. It's just not my taste. It's not my style. But then again, everybody's got their own kind of comedy that they like. So look, what you indulge in is your business. I just can't. I can't listen to someone say something that they try so hard to sound smart and full of common sense and educated and or knowledgeable on their subject, and then 5 minutes later, um, I don't even want to say what they say because I just can't do it. Um, so yeah, I just didn't even feel like um, there was a reason to try to insert my voice. As sick as I was on top of it, while all of that was going on. I mean, it's just embarrassing. Like, oh my gosh, if I had kids and my kids saw me act like that on like TV or their phone video or something like that, they wouldn't want me coming anywhere near like their friends or anything. Like, don't you guys have like regular jobs that you have to like show your face and like go out in the public and like, you know, meet other parents and stuff like that? Like, don't you have any regard for like the people around you and like how your family and your friends, like I don't know. And maybe I should just shut up now because I just I know I sound judgy. I probably sound terribly judgy. um I'm sharing my sentiments because they've calmed down a lot in the past couple days. um but it's just, in my opinion, all embarrassing. Yeah, yeah. Ugh. So, excuse me, I have missed you guys so much. Um, we are going to start with Elijah, and his grandmother on the maternal side did an interview, and then the family of on the paternal side also did an interview with a little bit of a police update. So you might have seen those already, but I chose to not even watch them once so that I could watch them with you guys as soon as I was feeling better. Um, but I really believe if you watched my last live regarding Elijah, I really believe I'm onto something with the neighbor. As I continued to dig through his criminal history, which we are going to discuss. But we are going to get started with Jody Bauer. This is Katrina Bauer's mom, and Katrina is Elijah's mom. And she recently did a local news interview. So we are just going to watch that really quick and be able to react to it together.
Your taste buds can travel the world with just one bite of a Pelkin Smoky Meat Market brat. From German to Southwest Chipotle, from jambalaya to Korean barbecue, then back home for a cheddar bacon or Badger State brat. You'll find the brat's abilities are endless at Pelkin Smoky Meat Market.
3-year-old elijahvue is still missing, and questions about his disappearance are not just coming from the public. Now his family questioning whether police are doing enough to bring the little boy home.
Elijah disappeared in February after his caregiver reported him missing from his Two Rivers apartment. Jesse Vang and his mother, Katrina Bauer, were arrested and charged with chronic child neglect. Both cases are currently going through the court system. On Monday, we first alerted you to a possible deal for Bauer. And in the update now for you, only on Action 2 News, Samantha Cavalli sat down for a one-on-one interview with Elijah's grandmother regarding this new information.
On Monday, just hours after learning Katrina Bauer is considering a plea deal in connection with chronic child abuse charges regarding her children, Katrina's mother, Jody Bauer, tells us she talked to her.
She's sad. She was crying. She's frustrated. She feels like the police weren't listening to her.
Bauer has been behind bars since February, when her 3-year-old son, Elijahvue, was reported missing in Two Rivers. He has yet to be found, despite months of searching.
She said she does not have any idea. If she did, she said, that's my son. I would go get him. I would tell them where he is. I have no idea.
That phone conversation, beyond difficult for Jody, as she balances love for her daughter and heartache for her missing grandson, whom she describes as always smiling and happy. The last few months have taken a toll.
Sometimes I go to bed at 4 a.m. and I'm up at 7. Sometimes by midnight, I'm so exhausted I can't see straight. So I think it depends on how much I cry during the day. It cycles. You go from hope to just not being able to hope, to anger, to sadness, and it can go in minutes or days. It's frustrating.
Frustrating because Jody says she didn't know Elijah was missing until her son received the Amber Alert around 4 p.m. on February 20th.
And he sent me a screenshot because he's like, what's going on? And I'm like, I don't know. And he was calling Trina and he couldn't get through to her.
Jody says when they did, Katrina told them Elijah was staying with his uncle,
which we didn't realize was Jesse. So as soon as everything started falling together, there's just, why would you do that?
Jesse Vang told authorities he last saw Elijah at 8 a.m. on February 20th. The Two Rivers police chief has repeatedly said there's no evidence to believe Elijah was abducted or just walked off. Just hours after the Amber Alert activation, police arrested Vang and Katrina for chronic child neglect.
What fell apart, what broke, what happened. And I still think there's things that we don't know. Well, I'm sure there's things we don't know. The point, are we ever going to know? I don't know.
Jody wrote this letter to the court asking to deny any bond modification for her daughter, saying Katrina has, quote, struggled with depression and anxiety for many years, has a history of erratic behavior, and a long history of drug abuse, end quote. She says it was one of the hardest things she's had to do as a mother.
People were so angry with her, and it was, we need to keep her safe, not only from others, but from herself, because if she gets out, there's no kids at home. Where's her brain going to go? As well as put the pressure on her to tell what she knows. It's now been over 4 months. I think if she knew more, she'd have said more.
Now Bauer is considering a plea deal. Jody doesn't know the details of the deal or whether Katrina will take it. But what she does know is she wants Katrina to receive mental health care if released. She says her daughter has been failed by the system before.
It just shakes my faith in the system and the abilities and what they're looking for. I'm supposed to blindly trust a system I've seen fail.
Jody says while she is thankful for the work the Two Rivers Police Department, the FBI, and DCI are doing, she tells us it's time to call in more resources.
At the same time, we're almost 5 months into this. I think that we need more eyes. I think we need more help.
It keeps Jody up at night, but what keeps her facing the day is hoping Elijah will still be found.
If Trina were watching this, what would you want to tell her?
Love you. You're still my daughter. You don't stop loving your kid. They can make mistakes. They make bad choices, but you always love them.
A $40,000 reward remains for anyone with information about Elijahvue's disappearance. In Wisconsin Dells, Samantha Cavalli, Action.
Wow. So now I think I understand why there was so much emotion after that interview. There was a lot of people really polarized over that interview. I would love to hear what you're thinking. I think it's interesting that she has talked to Katrina. She's saying she doesn't know what the plea was that was offered to her. I would think that she could tell her mom that. So she chose, I guess, not to maybe share that, or, Jody's choosing not to share that information. I guess where I'm struggling with this is, well, one, I think she just, made that tie about Jesse being Elijah's father's cousin by calling him the uncle. It's interesting that she's talking about needing more eyes, and I do believe the physical searches have been slowing. But, I think that there is an immense amount of resources that are on this case. I really am not at this point slighting law enforcement. It seems to me that they have been doing a whole lot. They have brought everybody in that they could get in, that we are well aware that in other cases aren't on those cases. And we have, like in this case, law enforcement came flat out and said, we don't believe he left voluntarily. We don't believe he was abducted. We can't exactly tell you what happened yet, but we do not believe it was these things. Interesting that, one law enforcement agency can say one thing and another one can't. So I don't believe that Katrina needs to be released until, well, I don't think she should be on probation, parole, anything like that until Elijah's been found and everything has been figured out. That is probably me living in a fantasy world. But once I talk to you more about this neighbor, then maybe you will understand why anything can happen at this point. So now we're going to quick jump over and we're going to, this is the law enforcement update that should include elijahvue.
So it may.
Let me have one then.
Get just what you need right when you need it. Hewlett Packard Enterprise opens up opportunities for Spurs across edge to cloud.
For months, the search for elijahvue looked like this. People combing the lakeshore and other areas of our state. But now, daily searches have basically ended. I'm your Two Rivers neighborhood reporter, Preston Stober, and I talked exclusively with Elijah's uncle and the police as they urge people to get back out there and look for the little boy. Elijahvue disappeared on February 20th. Shortly after he went missing, searches for him took place, and those searches got bigger. Many people gathered at the Mikado Theater in Manitowoc, and then they went out in groups into our neighborhoods, fields, and forests in hopes of finding Elijah. I was out with Elijah's family several times as they looked for him. They invited me to join them. On Wednesday, I spoke with Elijah's uncle, Orson Vu. While he didn't want to go on camera, he told me the family is doing well, but their searches are at a standstill. He says they had to go back to work, and they don't know where else they can even search. He told me the family talks with Wisconsin DCI regularly, and they're the first to get any new developments. Orson told me he would share any details with me about upcoming searches the family plans to go on. I spoke with Two Rivers Police Captain Andrew Rates, who's urging the community to continue that search.
People need to get out there, walk the trails, walk through the woods, walk on the lake, walk around the rivers. Keep your eyes open and see something suspicious, definitely call it in.
Captain Rates says police searches also tend to dwindle after a long period of time. but that doesn't mean they're not still looking.
So they're not every day anymore, but we are following up on every tip and lead that we get.
The FBI and DCI are still involved in the case. Captain Rates says they still do investigative work both in and out of town.
Analyzing video, drone footage, things like that.
On Monday, Elijah's mom, Katrina Bauer, scheduled a plea hearing. Manitowoc's DA says she asked to change her plea. Even yet, Captain Rates says the search operates separately from the courtroom.
The court part right now is based on neglect charges, but right now we're looking for a missing child, so that goes beyond that right now.
And while the investigation continues and days are difficult, Captain Rates says they're not giving up.
We're going to find them when? I don't know. Is it today, tomorrow, next week, 10 years from now? I don't know.
Captain Rates told me that they will look into a tip no matter where it leads them, but a lot of their evidence still points to the Two Rivers area. In Two Rivers, Preston Stober, NBC 26.
All right, guys. Okay, see, how can you not tie Sebastian and Elijah when you hear stuff like this? It happens to me every time. Listen to the law enforcement talk. They give whatever they can. If they are interviewed, they will answer to the best of their abilities. They'll say who is still involved in the case. They'll say what they're still working on. What efforts are still being done. The law enforcement are pleading for the public to keep helping and searching. Not happening in Tennessee. What? How does this happen? You have one law enforcement agency. No, we don't find evidence of an abduction. We don't find evidence of them walking away. So, I do not get it. And this is where I'm at right now, is what's going on in Elijah's case is the boots on the ground have dwindled, and that is because, in my opinion, weather, tourism, summer in Wisconsin is very, very brief. Any decent weather is super brief in Wisconsin. So you have like a good 2.5 months of summer, of good weather, basically. And so a lot of people take advantage of that. And then you get an influx of, that is all along Lake Michigan. So you get an influx of tourism coming in. There's a lot of people along the east coast of Wisconsin where they might have been laid off all winter. And in the summer, they're working overtime. They're taking care of cabins, resorts, boats, marinas, things like that. It's just a very busy time. And I can understand what the family's saying is that, at some point, they still have to go back to work. They all have kids. They still have families that they have to take care of. So the searches are dwindling. And the problem is, I've said this before, there was a lot of snow, then there was melt, and then there was a lot of rain. And now there's been an obscene amount of rain and tons of flooding all over the state. And then as you get into, the fall, you never know if your winter in Wisconsin is going to start in October, November. You could just have solid frozen lakes in November, even. It's possible. So the way the terrain can change, which can literally move evidence, move physical persons, it's a real thing. And someone sent me a picture of a place that's a rather intriguing place to search. And I do think someone, hi Gigi and hi Audrey, Angela, of a really unique looking place. And I believe in one of the search groups, they had not searched it. So I'm a little fascinated about this possible location. So they need the manpower to do more of the boots on the ground. Law enforcement is readily accepting that help because they are also still combing through all of the forensics and all the surveillance and what they were saying, about excuse me, other areas is because, the mom lived in Wisconsin Dells. They had some tips coming in from Portage. And then this was in Two Rivers. And then, so you have all these different areas, and all of that surveillance from different areas is what they're going through. But, they are taking this case so seriously. And, sometimes I see people commenting on the case, and I just want to say, I wish you guys had a clue about Sebastian Rogers' case, because then you maybe would be pretty excited about all of here's what it is. It's so fascinating to me. Elijah gets less media, social media coverage. Okay. Not a lot of people pouring into him all over YouTube and things like that, beyond maybe 5-minute videos. Sebastian, everybody, hours and hours and hours and hours of streaming about him, but law enforcement isn't doing anything. So in Elijah's case, you have all hands on deck by law enforcement, very little social media coverage, and then the reverse for Sebastian. So I think it has to make you more angry and upset with law enforcement, because you just keep trying to hope and hope and hope and think about, but then when Trinity Bostic's, because I had shared her missing flyer, and then to see that she passed away, and unfortunately, was found not far from where Sebastian lived, not related. But it just felt like, what are you guys doing in Tennessee? Law enforcement? This girl didn't have an Amber Alert. She wasn't listed online on the missing person sites. You just, chalked her up as a runaway. And then she turns up, that she was killed in Hendersonville or left in Hendersonville. We don't know if that's where the act occurred. Is it because you have your hands so full with all these missing children and teenagers that you guys can't even possibly update your websites fast enough or update social media? What's going on? It is like that, Dolores. It is like, I get so mad because, I have a teenage son. And if my teenage son was missing and they didn't want to put an Amber Alert or put my kid up on their missing, at least on the missing, everybody's got different criteria depending on the state, like we have found out now, Indiana can use, they use Silver Alert, not just for if, you have somebody with cognitive issues or someone with Alzheimer's who's wandered, but also if, we have an endangered situation like with the Terrell family. So what's going on in Tennessee? why are the people of Tennessee, the residents of Tennessee, not pushing to hold these people accountable? Because no, they don't have to come out and tell everybody what they're doing with every single case and tell us, break their case wide open to us or anything like that. But aren't you supposed to assure us that to the best degree possible, you know, families are safe, kids are safe. If there's somebody that's a threat, that people should be wary. You know, what are you doing? Now this poor girl lost her life, and what? You know, where's the, if I was that family not putting my kid up as missing, we'd have a big problem. We'd have a big problem. That's all I'm going to say. But if you, what my situation here is, you got to look at some patterns here, okay? You have these different cases, and if you look at how quickly they were found, like this is a great example. How quickly was she found? Super close to Sebastian's home. She was found very quickly. That made me think about, you know, would Sebastian have been found? Should he have been found that quickly if he was that close to home? The other thing I wondered about, and I'm not from Tennessee, so I can't really say, I can only speak, you know, but like in Wisconsin, you know, when the seasons change, you know, the trees get kind of bare, and it's, you know, and then in the summer, it's just lush and green everywhere. Is that how it is in Tennessee? Because I want to know if maybe there's less dense trees when in the area when Sebastian went missing versus Trinity being found, because if anything, I would think it would have been harder for her to have been seen in the summertime. Yes, thinking out loud. Yes. And in the Dells, which is where Katrina, his mother, where she was living in that area. They were doing searches in that area as well, targeted searches. And so I'm happy to see that the gas stations and, you know, that they're still actively keeping his flyer out. And it's just really challenging because, you know, it's hard to get a lot of the boots on the ground this time of year in a tourist community. But I really, it makes me so frustrated because, you know, TBI, you know, has not posted an update regarding Sebastian's case in eons. Sumner County hasn't given any press conference in eons. That's what I was thinking, Dolores. Thank you. Because it honestly, there's, you know, while Wisconsin doesn't, you know, doesn't have the year-round better weather, you know, that Tennessee does have a lot of similar aspects like Wisconsin with the water and the nature and a lot of the state parks and the ATVs. And so there's a lot of commonalities. And I think I think that's why a lot of people like Tennessee that are from Wisconsin, because it's kind of like Wisconsin, but without the brutal winter. So thank you. Yeah, I don't know how he wouldn't have been seen when things were more clear. And look, I'm just calling it like it is. I'm done believing that there was an abduction. I am done believing a stranger abduction. I am done even considering the option that he ran away. They're off the table 100% for me, personally, my opinion. Looking at the patterns of so many of these cases, I believe it is more likely, I can't ever say impossible. It is more likely that there was foul play involved than anything else. And the only close second is if there was not foul play, that it was relatives that took him somewhere. And I know that's a very popular notion, but that is just that's too much of a liability at this point for everybody involved. So I am left with my only theory now. My only personal theory is foul play, all in. Thank you. Thank you so much, Linda. You just made my night. Thank you so much. Yeah, Dolores, you are totally right. The only, and there is way too many people that were coming and going off that Wells property. Yeah, no, I bad things happened. Bad things happened. I don't believe that Seth knows anything. I don't believe that Seth was involved. Because because I believe that, I don't, still not going to stream the channel, still not going to do, promoting of any of that. I can't even look at the guy's face. I can't hear his voice. That co-hosts, I can't hear anybody that's on there. I just can't even hear it. It's like 30 seconds and I got to turn it off. So the voices might as well be like nails on a chalkboard. Bad taste in my mouth for life, I think. That being said, I don't believe he did anything to his kid. He's tied up in a whole bunch of nonsense right now, for sure, in my opinion. But I don't believe he did anything to Sebastian. And I really have to start wondering, this is my little conspiracy theory side, which there's not much of me that does believe that stuff, is, do the Bower Sox have law enforcement, like money going in there or something to shut people up? Or is law enforcement really just this bad? Because there rarely in life is there a perfect crime. Perfect crimes don't happen. People make mistakes, a lot of mistakes. Okay. Even when you pre-plan, premeditate, there are plenty of mistakes. And I do not believe that a perfect crime was committed in Sebastian's case. Just like I don't believe a perfect crime was committed in Elijah's case. So that leads me to believe that, I don't know, at this point, when I'm watching people living their best lives, they sure have the feeling that this was the perfect crime. And I wonder why they're given that warm and fuzzy feeling. Um, uh, Angela, yeah, she is on, oh, I think it's the 18th. Let me check. Pretty sure it is the 18th in the afternoon. Katrina is going to do a plea deal. We don't know what she will be pleading to. They could reduce the charges. They could drop some of the charges. They could, so she could get like one neglect charge and the other neglect charge goes away. They could drop the disorderly conducts. So there's a lot of options there. She is also a first-time offender when it comes to these charges for child neglect. So, excuse me, coughing fit. So there is a chance that she might just get time served, probation, a version of house arrest. So that is coming July 18th, late afternoon. Cindy, thank you for this information. Yeah, I was able to dig to know that they're a little something to talk about locally. I guess, I had a little hope because TBI was involved and that's state level, But yeah, no, I'm not. I'm really frustrated. It doesn't make sense when I compare it to other cases. Sorry. Last person that was with someone, yes. And, a lot of my time being sick, it just continues to cross my mind like, well, could you just imagine, where you just were like, okay, for whatever reason, you were like, no, I'm not going to search because this is probably the better route to go. No, I couldn't figure that out. And, then I'm like, gosh, how could you, I know you're allowed to eat, but how can you go in a restaurant, and just, like do fairs or carnivals or go to the pool? I mean, I don't know. I don't know. And it's not like this just started happening. The living their best life has been going on for months. And it might sound cold for me to say that, but I'm not the one doing it. They're the ones living that. It was like if they wouldn't have had to leave the house because of the attention, which didn't have to, but I mean, it's really not. You would not know that they have a missing child at all, at all. I mean, really. Thank you so much, Audrey. Yeah, today was actually my best day in 3 weeks. That's this has been the worst, whatever it is. It's just awful. Um, yeah, exactly, Dolores. And what are you telling Faith? Because I know that her mom had to have told her something about Sebastian being gone. So, then, Faith gets over by Chris, and then is Faith like, you know, getting a counter narrative from them, when she's there. Um, this is probably got to be the longest summer of Nina's life, and Faith's. Children are so resilient, though. I am sure she is making the best of it, and I am sure she's still having fun. But I am sure that her mom is just barely surviving right now, as if her child was missing. Interesting. But before I forget, I did want to go back. We had started touching on the neighbor who lived in the apartment building with Jesse Vang, who's rarely ever talked about. I call him TP. Not trying to dox anybody. So, because we started cracking into Mr. TP's criminal record. And we were discussing, if you were not in that last live, we were discussing how when Elijah went missing, the neighbor very closely thereafter basically started issuing letters on every case he has in the court system, which is a lot, asking for his address to be sealed. And in the state of Wisconsin, that's very unusual. Okay. It's very unusual. And it's a lot of work. But on top of that, for those of you who don't know the neighbor that I'm talking about, because he's not talked about often, but again, I'm not going to say his name. I'm going to say TP. TP is the owner of the vehicle that is seen on many of Elijah's missing flyers. It is the vehicle that was allegedly loaned to Jesse Vang, and was used allegedly by Jesse Vang the evening that Elijah most believe went missing. And the police have impounded the vehicle. They still have the vehicle in custody, which I believe then led them on a path with a dinosaur slipper shoe, and then eventually possibly led them to one of their landfill searches. So trying to just keep everybody, understanding who TP is, the neighbor. Thank you so much, Audrey. You're so sweet. So yes, TP goes after Elijah goes missing, and he starts filing papers with the court. Take my address off this, take my address off that. And it's interesting because it's just not really done in Wisconsin. If it was a family case, like your custody or maybe a probate, stuff like that, then it might be. But this is really unusual. We are talking about tons of cases, and I believe we're onto something. This guy, listen to this. So we talked last time about he had DV charges, like financial transaction charges. And this stuff makes me mad because it's like, the police do their job, but then it's got to go to the court system. Okay. So, okay, this was his burglary charge, bail jumping, substantial battery, and intentional bodily harm. Okay. But disorderly conduct, use of a dangerous weapon, fourth degree SA, assault, disorderly conduct. Okay. Criminal damage to property, bail jumping, disorderly conduct. Oh, wait, that's not the one. Okay. Yeah, well, it's him, but it's not the second degree SA of a child. These are separate cases. Everything I'm reading, separate cases. Separate cases. Second degree SA of a child. That case, listen, it was filed in 2022. And he's just decided, this is fascinating, okay? He decided on February 21st that he wanted to make a plea deal on the second degree SA of a child. Okay. This is right around when Elijah went missing. He decides, now I'm going to make a plea deal on my SA charge, second degree SA charge. Okay. Then February 29th, he filed his motions to seal his court record and to seal his address. They would not allow the court record to be sealed. They did seal his address. Too bad I already had it at that point. But 2022, this was filed, okay? And here in 2024, still dealing with the case, but that's not all, folks. Months after that, in early 2023, we had 2 counts of first-degree child SA, intercourse with a person under the age of 16, use and threat, force, violence. 2 counts, trafficking a child. 1 count, strangulation, suffocation. A count of lewd and lascivious, you know what I'm saying, lascivious behavior in public. I'm not done. I'm not done. Okay. Child, you know what, exploitation by videos, recordings. Another count, trafficking of a child. Another count, second degree SA, use of force. 2 counts, third degree SA. A count of post or publishing private representation without the consent of a victim, a minor. This is the vehicle. This is the man who owned the vehicle that allegedly was used by Jesse, okay, the night Elijah went missing. Is it so hard to believe that this poor child, that there was a potential planned sale, whether it went through or it didn't go through, or they thought they were going to make some money? Is that hard to believe when you listen to the charge? We've already been through Jesse's rap sheet, not even all of it. And now the other person, he's sealing his record. Part of me thinks maybe he is talking to law enforcement a little bit. Maybe he's hoping to make a deal on all these other charges if he can. No, the vehicle was impounded. It is still in custody. They do have the vehicle in custody. Well, thank you, Dolores. Exactly, because I haven't even gotten to the good part, right? And that is sarcasm. So let's see. We don't need to go through all of his disorderlies and DVs and all that fun stuff. But winner, chicken dinner. Guess who has a record that long and not once? He has not been required to register on the registry. But he's not. But thinking out loud, he's not. He never had to register. How the hell is that even possible? This is why our kids keep disappearing and being abducted, because they didn't require somebody like this to be behind bars for 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 years years ago when this started. He's not been required to be on the registry. He's been allowed to live by schools, playgrounds, children in the same apartment building with him, with other people who have trafficking charges. And you're going to, seriously, this is what I'm saying. Law enforcement takes the mother off the street, and the court system puts them right back out. It makes you want to be sick. I can't believe that this guy's car is involved, but he never did anything to Elijah ever. I can't believe it. I can't. I won't. I don't know if he did something or didn't do something. I can only imagine what this poor kid went through during his stay at Jesse's apartment building, around people like this. It's just birds of a feather flock together. And you don't loan your vehicle to a stranger. So these two had more of a connection. You're going to give your car keys to someone, and he had, they again, Katrina had one of Jesse's vehicles. He had a vehicle, but in his other vehicle that he had by his apartment, he had an ignition interlock device installed. So for him to take his vehicle anywhere, he has to blow sober. Okay, so he can't drive it impaired. So if Katrina was actually home when this happened in Wisconsin Dells with the car, and he's impaired and the truck is there, he can't blow clean. So he uses the vehicle of his friend who's just like him. I'm thinking out loud would say she probably, they probably all party together. Like these people and these crowds, like this is their life. They all have, many of them have trafficking charges against them. Except the difference is with the neighbor, you're tying the SA option to a child. Okay, we're getting there versus trafficking adults. But this guy is a whole nother, he is like a Stephen Stearns. And that guy's got the death penalty on the table. But this guy is allowed to just chill in his apartment and commit more acts and drag out his case for a year, different cases for 6 months, a year at a time. Yeah, I have to believe that they searched his apartment. I don't think he's in the building anymore. I think that's why his address was sealed. I have a feeling he was either evicted, booted out, could have had a domestic restraining order on him, something. But I think he did pick up a domestic charge in early March. And I believe there was a restraining order issued against him. So he may not have been allowed to return to his home. And, if he is potentially talking to law enforcement or trying to negotiate a deal, then it's possible that, he has reason to fear for his safety because people would want to shut him up. The same for if Katrina gets released. If they think she knows something, she is definitely going to be put in the high risk situation. Just allowed to just roam free. Not even on the list. You wouldn't even pull up his name. Because what I did is I wanted to go see his face. I wanted to see his face. And I couldn't see his face on there. Because usually when they, at least in Wisconsin on the registry, sometimes they'll get a little more detailed as far as the charges, just so it wasn't like, a 19-year-old who dated a 16, 17-year-old, boyfriend, girlfriend situation, and then parents press charges. So you typically are able to see a little more information. Yeah. Oh, I agree, Audrey. It's overwhelming. It's overwhelming. How much just thought has to go into every, I just had a internet safety conversation today, with my 6-year-old who didn't understand, like, well, what if they would be nice on the other end of a game? And I'm like, you don't know who they are. You don't know how old they are. That's why you're not, you can't, so it's a conversation I had to have, and it's sick. At least that I know of, it's arguable. He may not be local. I hadn't thought outside of the state because I wonder if I went back though, as far as age. Let me just check if I went all the way back to when, because you can't see So if he was born in 99, so that's only 25. And holy mollies. This is crazy. So wait a minute. Okay, so like this one huge case I'm looking at right now, which has like, I mean, just stacks and stacks of like credit card charges and all that. That was in 2015. So he would have only been 16. Am I doing the math right? 16? See, they don't usually allow you to see a minor's record, but maybe it was the degree, the type of charge. Oh, I think it is only showing because the case had to be reopened and he was an adult in 2019 and his probation was revoked. That's why I can see a juvenile case because, yeah, his probation was revoked. But so, I mean, he was doing these crimes. He started, I mean, we're talking, that's what, 15 years old. And that was, let's see. Okay, so 16 years old. We have domestic abuse, criminal damage to property, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 felony counts of bail jumping, 16 years old. Yeah, Libra, you're going to need to definitely go to the back. I will have to check those books out. So if you think about this kid, 25 years old. I mean, he's like a baby, and $18 years old when he had disorderly conduct with the use of a dangerous weapon. So yeah, I believe it probably would all be likely in Wisconsin. Well, this is interesting. So this is on the 4th degree essay. Remember, there were higher first and second degree offenses. In the notes, it says, comply with any advice or direction from the defendant's doctors. Have no contact with the initials. Assessment, treatment, counseling as deemed appropriate. Interesting. Yeah, that sounds like a very good title, Audrey. Yeah, Dolores, it sounds super dangerous. So I think that he probably knows something. You don't just hand your keys over and you don't know what's going on. I think he knew what was going on. And he is obviously, these people are well versed in the sale of human beings, adults, children, for money, for drugs. These are bad people doing terrible, horrible things. So when you even, it gets infuriating when you hear the word plea deal. Because I agree entirely, there should never be negotiations with somebody who commits an offense towards a child. It's possible, Linda. That's a good point, because my mind was going with trying to blame it on, that they, not blame it on, but that maybe, there was some mental illness that they were, or anger management or whatever. But yeah, potentially blaming it on substance abuse, because obviously if you're 16 and you're committing that much credit card theft, you need the money for something, some bad habit, I'm sure, right? Just does not sound good. Oh. It's very, very, very sad. I do want to say, thank God Bryson Muir was found. His parents are in jail. We talked about their case on the last time I was able to be live, and thank God he was recovered, and he's alive, and he's safe, and was taken into state custody. The fourth degree, which is like the weakest of them all, his first one of record would have been at 18, Linda. So the parents are in custody. I believe they were both denied bond. And my thoughts and my prayers go out to Bryson. And I just really pray that his other family, because his grandmother obviously was very quick to call the police and take swift action. And so I just pray that as a family, his grandmother and others might be able to help him get the help that he needs, the care, because this sweet young man believed into all the sick and twisted brainwashing that the Straightway organization and these other cult-like religious organizations, poison these kids. And these kids, they've just believed that they're everything that their parents tell them they are, and it's despicable. And I hope he does not ever have to be in their custody again. And I hope that he can heal from this. And you probably saw, I shared it a couple times on my community page, the Terrell family, 3 toddlers, 2 adults, the Silver Alert out of Indiana. Again, law enforcement and major news has not confirmed this. So at this point, I'm going to say allegedly, according to the information that I was given, that basically the 3 kids were not, the parents didn't have custody of them. And while at least one grandparent, I believe the grandfather, was at a restaurant and went to the bathroom and came out, and the parents took the kids. I believe the parents were there to maybe visit, have a meal, something, and they took the kids. Why did they take the kids? They obviously don't have custody of them for a reason. A lot of family stuff is very difficult to find publicly. So this is my understanding that they shouldn't have them. And the police are not sugarcoating their language. They are saying these kids are in extreme, urgent danger and could be in need of immediate medical attention. So I don't know that it gets a whole lot more serious than that. And they could have went in any direction. At this point, I've not learned if they have friends or connections or ties in any direction. I don't know if they have drug, substance abuse issues and that they are not in their right mind. We don't know yet. Linda, yeah, absolutely. Yes, if I was that family, if I was related to the parents of Bryson, I would just stay out of the public for a while. These religious fanatics, cult leaders, religious sect, you know what I'm saying. SECT. They will do a lot of bad, awful things. And they will try to get in as deep as they can. And they're not afraid. Because when these people have their minds poisoned, they believe that when they do bad things, they're doing it for God. And they're not. And so, yeah. And so since I'm going to be wrapping it up, because I'm declining here, and I know I'm going to start a coughing fit. This sweet face is tarajanesullivan. Been covering her when possible. Zero information, no trace. She disappeared from Weston, her home in Weston, where she backed out allegedly. Nobody saw it, so we don't know if she backed her vehicle out of the garage through the door, trying to flee an attacker, or if the attacker did it. Those are my words, because they have not yet said one way or the other if they believe foul play was involved. I think that's a little obvious. The vehicle then proceeded about 10-12 minutes away down this to get on the highway, and her phone was found abandoned. On the Tara Jane Sullivan playlist, I have a small video where I show you like where this phone was ditched at. So it could have been they pulled down the remote road that dead ends, or they could have been going from the highway, but the highway is a lot harder for me to believe unless they're like a professional pitcher, maybe. And then they continued on. The vehicle was found about 45 minutes or so to an hour down the highway, abandoned. Keys in the cup holder. And her belongings were still at home, purse, all that jazz. Still trying to seek out friends and family of hers to see if they might have any information that they can help try to shed some light on maybe things that were put out in the public, if she was using any dating apps, or she might have met somebody that she shouldn't have met. There's a lot of misinformation out there on this particular case. But I do want to continue to shine a light that there's no searching, there's really no law enforcement activity, just poof, gone. And as we know, the older you get in age, the less and less work is done on a case based on your age. Let's just call it that. Teenagers aren't even missing persons anymore. Adults, why even bother? So, yeah. So, I have not forgotten about Tara Jane Sullivan. I would just like to have a crumb or a morsel of something that could send some direction one way or another. But I was really excited to be able to hop on here with you guys tonight because I have missed everybody. And I've not even been in any position to talk. So I am very glad that so many of your friendly names popped up tonight and that you guys were able to tune in. So in about 10 days, we will find out what this plea deal is going to be for Katrina Bauer. If I had to guess, in about 10 days, we will know nothing more or less about Sebastian's case. I know that it was alleged that Seth was supposed to be sitting down with Sumner County. I do not believe we will get much of anything from that. I know that they are not going to tell him much of anything. They know he has a YouTube channel now. They're not going to want anything they tell him to be on YouTube. So I don't see them sharing much information. And if they do meet with him, it is just to pacify him. That's my opinion. But for all of you, I hope while you're navigating the YouTube waters out there that you just give yourselves little bits of breaks. Because boy, the toxicity levels are off the charts. So I'm just going to thank all of you who showed up and all of your kind words and well wishes. I greatly appreciate all of you. And I should be back in probably a couple days. I think this might be the end of it. So I hopefully won't need a long pause like that, as long as nobody does anything crazy. So thank you guys, and you guys enjoy the rest of your evening, and stay true. Have a good night.